Calls for restraint from the US as tensions escalate between India and Pakistan, prompting fears of an armed conflict. Marco Rubio is set to speak with his Indian and Pakistani counterparts, urging both sides to work towards a responsible solution following last Tuesday's deadly shooting in disputed Kashmir. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi convened 4 cabinet meetings following reports that he granted forces complete operational freedom to decide on the mode, targets and timing of India's response. Last week, ministers met for a similar briefing in the wake of the terror attack. Now, that meeting triggered a series of diplomatic measures against Pakistan. Islamabad, meanwhile, says it has credible intelligence that New Delhi plans an imminent military strike. It says any act of what it perceives as aggression will be met with a decisive response. Dozens of Pakistani nationals living in India are leaving the country after the Indian government cancelled their visas in a tit-for-tat response. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has accused Pakistan of being involved in the Pahalgam attack. Troops from both sides have exchanged fire across the de facto border in Kashmir in recent days. And for more, we are joined by Neha Poonia in New Delhi and Hira Mustafa in Islamabad. Neha, let's start with you. What came out of the cabinet meeting? Is there any indication of what India could do next?
Well, there were expectations that there would have been some sort of announcement. It's been a busy day here in New Delhi with Prime Minister Narendra Modi holding several cabinet meetings. He first met with his cabinet committee on security, which includes his defense minister, the country's home minister who's in charge of internal security, his external affairs minister and the finance minister. Prime Minister Modi then meeting with other cabinet members to discuss economic and political affairs. And after that, there was a press briefing on the cabinet meetings, but nothing related to the tensions between India and Pakistan was announced. We've not really heard from New Delhi except for the announcements that came following Prime Minister Modi's meeting with his defense minister and the heads of the armed forces on Tuesday evening, which is when he reportedly authorized complete operational freedom to the armed forces to respond to Pakistan in any way they choose fit. But we are now seeing many military experts talk about how there could be some sort of limited military response that India could undertake. But of course, there's also the question of the request from the United States to exercise extreme caution, something the United Nations has been talking about as well. It's expected that India's Foreign Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, will speak to Marco Rubio on Wednesday evening. Now, the US, which is a key ally of India, has criticized that attack in Kashmir, but it's not criticized Pakistan. And previously, the understanding was that given how deeply involved the US is in the Ukraine-Russia negotiation, there was no appetite to step in and help broker peace between Pakistan and India, something Washington, D.C. has done in the past. But now with US Secretary of State Marco Rubio expected to speak to both foreign ministers, the expectation is that the US may help intervene and bring the nuclear-armed neighbors back from the edge of a wider conflict. Of course, we've heard what Prime Minister Modi has said, talking about how India will do whatever it takes to hunt the perpetrators down to the very ends of the earth. India has already announced several diplomatic measures, including expulsion of Pakistani diplomats and civilians. Hundreds have left the country as that land crossing between India and Pakistan closes on Wednesday. But as things stand, no other indication from India on what steps could be taken next. And, this is, of course, coming as both sides have continued to exchange fire along their de facto border in the Kashmir region.
Now, Hira, what sort of evidence does Pakistan have to back its claims of an impending military action?
We have seen from the country's information minister He has categorically stated in that on the basis of credible intelligence reports, Islamabad is stating that the next 24 to 36 hours are critical, given the fact that Islamabad is hoping that on the basis of these reports, India may carry out a possible cross-border strike. What sort of evidence he was pointing out, he did not elaborate in that statement. What's interesting to note here is that he made this statement late in the night, which experts believe is very unusual and highlights the gravity of the situation. Right after his statement, we have seen concerns in the local community that lives near the border region between India, along the border regions of Pakistan and India, especially the de facto border, which separates Pakistan-administered Kashmir and Indian-administered Kashmir. Given the fact that how the situation is changing, and now the information minister has stated that the 24 to 36 hours time frame is very critical. Security across the country is on high alert. Pakistan's fighter jets are patrolling the airspace, and the number of troops are doubled along the de facto border. Experts believe that in light of this escalating tension between the two nuclear-armed neighbors, international community must play its role in easing the tensions between the two neighboring countries.
Thank you so much for that update, Neha Poonia in New Delhi and Hira Mustafa in Islamabad.